something has just happened on the battlefield that military analysts are calling one of the most shocking developments in modern warfare. And if the reports coming out right now are even half true, the entire global balance of air power may have just shifted forever. Stay with me, because this story is not just about missiles and jets. This is about the future of war itself, and who actually controls the skies above the Middle East. This is Pulse American News, and I am Kundi. Let us get into it. For decades, one aircraft has stood above every other fighter jet on the planet as the crown jewel of American military engineering. It has been sold to allies. It has been celebrated in press conferences. It has been held up as the ultimate symbol of air superiority. That aircraft is the F-35 stealth fighter. Hundreds of billions of dollars were poured into its development. It was marketed to the world as essentially undetectable, unstoppable, and untouchable. Countries lined up to purchase it. Defense ministers praised it. Military generals called it the future of aerial warfare. And for years that reputation held. Until now, footage has emerged that, according to multiple sources, shows an F-35 fighter jet being tracked, locked onto, and struck. The moment the footage started circulating, newsrooms scrambled. Within hours, a major American media outlet rushed to publish a report claiming the aircraft had made an emergency landing. Emergency landing. That was the framing they chose. But when you watch what is visible in that footage, when you see the impact and the fire, and what happens to that aircraft, the phrase emergency landing does not describe what happened, not even close. That aircraft was not landing anywhere. That aircraft was gone. And here is where the story gets very serious, very fast. Because it is not just one aircraft we are talking about. Reports are now emerging, including from major financial and news outlets, that the total number of American military aircraft lost or damaged in this conflict has climbed significantly. The figure being cited includes drones, tankers, surveillance aircraft, and fighter jets. When you add all of that together, the number of assets that the United States military has reportedly lost in this theater of operation is staggering. We are not talking about a minor skirmish. We are not talking about a border incident or a rogue missile going off course. We are talking about a systematic and apparently successful campaign to degrade American air capability in this region. Now let us talk about what makes this truly historic. Because the F-35 was not just any aircraft. It was built on a foundation of stealth technology. The entire engineering philosophy behind it was that no radar system could detect it. No surface-to-air missile system could track it. The whole point was that by the time any enemy knew the F-35 was in the area, it would have already completed its mission and returned home safely. That was the promise. That was what countries paid billions of dollars to acquire. For that promise to be broken on a battlefield, in real time with footage circulating internationally, is not just a military embarrassment, it is an economic catastrophe for the American defense industry. Think about every country that was in the process of negotiating an F-35 purchase. Think about every defense minister sitting in a meeting room with American contractors, listening to presentations about stealth capability and survivability. That conversation has now fundamentally changed. The question being asked in every defense ministry on the planet right now is not whether the F-35 is impressive. The question is whether it is survivable. And right now the answer to that question is genuinely uncertain in a way it has never been before. To understand what happened technically, you need to understand two separate capabilities. First, you need the ability to detect the aircraft. Stealth technology works by reducing the radar cross-section of a jet, making it appear as little more than background noise on traditional radar systems. For decades, no adversary of the United States possessed a radar system capable of reliably tracking an F-35 at combat range. That was the entire strategic foundation of American air doctrine. Second, even if you detect the aircraft, you need a weapon system capable of engaging it at speed, at altitude, and with enough precision to actually strike it. Detecting and hitting a high-speed stealth aircraft are two entirely different engineering challenges. What has clearly happened is that someone somewhere has provided a radar detection system capable of defeating F-35 stealth technology, and paired with that detection system is a weapon system capable of completing the engagement. Both capabilities, working together, in a real combat environment against the most advanced fighter jet ever built. That is what we are looking at. That is why analysts are describing this as one of the most consequential technological moments in modern military history. China has long claimed to have developed anti-stealth radar systems. Russia has made similar claims. Whether those systems were transferred, whether technical assistance was provided, whether personnel were involved in any way, these are the questions that will dominate intelligence briefings for months, because whoever provided this capability has fundamentally altered the strategic landscape, not just for this conflict, for every air force in the world that operates stealth aircraft, for every country that was planning to purchase stealth aircraft. The calculus has changed entirely. Now let us pull back and look at the broader picture of what has been happening in this conflict. Because the aircraft issue is just one piece of a much larger strategic picture. Energy infrastructure in the region has taken enormous damage. Reports from Qatar indicate that a significant portion of that country's liquefied natural gas production capacity has been knocked offline. We're not talking about a few weeks of repairs. We are talking about a damage assessment that puts recovery years away. Qatar's LNG capacity is not just important to Qatar. It is a cornerstone of global energy supply chains. European countries that have been relying on Qatari gas, Asian markets that have import contracts, global spot prices. All of these things are affected when a meaningful percentage of Qatari production capacity goes offline for an extended period. This is not just a Middle Eastern story. This is an energy story with global consequences. At the same time, oil refinery infrastructure in the Israeli coastal city of Haifa has reportedly been struck. Haifa is not a small target. It is one of the most important industrial and port cities in Israel, and its refinery infrastructure handles a significant volume of petroleum processing. Strikes on that infrastructure do not just hurt Israel's domestic fuel supply. They send a signal about what targets are now within range and within the threat calculus. Add to all of this the fact that Saudi Arabia and other regional states have reportedly also experienced strikes or credible threats against their infrastructure, and you begin to understand the full scope of what is unfolding. This is not a focused, contained military operation with clearly defined targets and limited escalation. This is a comprehensive campaign being waged across the entire region simultaneously, targeting energy infrastructure, military assets, and air power in a coordinated way that suggests serious planning and serious capability. Now let us talk about the American strategic position. Because from Washington's perspective, none of this was supposed to happen. The United States entered this conflict with an overwhelming advantage in air power, the naval presence in the region, the aircraft carrier battle groups, the long-range bombing capability, the refueling tanker networks. All of it was supposed to translate into decisive, rapid results. That was the assumption. Control the air and you control the conflict. And controlling the air was supposed to be easy because the adversary was not supposed to have the capability to challenge American air supremacy. That assumption has now been seriously damaged. When you lose aircraft in combat, any aircraft, but especially the most advanced and expensive aircraft ever built, you lose more than hardware. You lose the credibility of your air superiority doctrine. Other states that operate under the American security umbrella begin to ask hard questions. If the F-35 is not safe in this environment, what does that mean for our security commitments? If our most advanced aircraft can be tracked and engaged, what does that mean for our contingency plans in other theaters? These questions do not have easy answers, and they are being asked urgently in capitals around the world right now. There is also a broader economic dimension to this. The American defense industry is built on the premise that its products are the best in the world, and that superiority translates into sales. The F-35 program alone represents trillions of dollars in past, present, and future revenue. Every allied nation that has purchased the F-35 or is planning to purchase it is now sitting with a major question mark. Every competitor, every country that builds and exports alternative fighter aircraft is paying extremely close attention to what is happening and will use this information in every future sales negotiation. The reputational and financial consequences of a stealth aircraft being demonstrably defeated in combat extend far beyond this conflict and far beyond this region. To Israel specifically, the F-35 has not just been a military asset, it has been a symbol. The Israeli Air Force took delivery of its F-35s with enormous national pride. Footage of those aircraft flying was regularly used in government communications and military presentations as evidence of Israel's qualitative military edge over any adversary in the region. That narrative has been severely complicated. When the aircraft that was supposed to represent unchallenged superiority becomes a target that can be tracked, engaged, and destroyed, the entire strategic story changes. Now let us talk about what comes next. Because the most important question is not what has already happened. It is what happens now. The conflict has reached a point where both sides have demonstrated serious capability and serious willingness to escalate. One side has demonstrated the ability to strike energy infrastructure across a wide geographic area, defeat stealth aircraft in combat, and maintain operational tempo despite significant military pressure. The other side still has enormous reserves of conventional military power, naval capability, and the most advanced weapon systems ever produced. Neither side is close to running out of options. Neither side has achieved its stated objectives, and neither side appears to be moving toward a negotiated resolution. That is a very dangerous combination. When both sides believe they have more to gain from continuing than from stopping, and when neither side has been forced to the table by exhaustion or catastrophic loss, conflicts tend to escalate rather than wind down, and in a region already saturated with critical infrastructure, energy assets, and military hardware, escalation carries consequences that extend far beyond the battlefield. What Kundi is telling you today on Pulse America News is this. What you are watching unfold is not a contained regional conflict. It is a live stress test of military doctrines, weapons systems, and strategic assumptions that have governed global security for decades. The results of that test are coming in, and they are surprising. They are surprising for the countries that thought their technology was invincible. They are surprising for the analysts who assumed the outcome was predetermined. And they will be consequential for every nation on Earth that is watching and drawing its own conclusions about what it means when the most advanced weapon system in the world turns out to be vulnerable after all. Stay with Pulse America News. This story is far from over. I am Kundi, and we will keep bringing you the truth as it develops.